Hey there, Walt here from WaltInPA, and today I want to talk about some stuff. It's not much of a lead-in. So today I want to talk about something I've been doing on social media. Not nearly as much as I should, but dipping my toe in the social media pool. So, just to kind of give you an idea where my head is at. So I'm sure you're like me and you've seen typical Instagram posts or Facebook posts that are engineered in such a way that they try to create interaction. So, you know, for instance, if you're on Facebook, you might see a motorcycle picture pop up, right? And it's got a caption with a question. You know, what's the best part of, or what is the most important piece of safety gear? And then down below the question, you know, there are a couple things. You got the thumbs up, means your helmet, and the happy face means your riding jacket, and the heart emoji means your gloves, you know, so on and so forth. And they're engineered in such a way that they entice you to click, to interact without actually having to type out something complicated or a long form response. Now, I don't know what the equivalent on Instagram would be. However, I've been trying to do something like this that doesn't feel so dirty from a marketing perspective. So I came up with a list of probably 20 what I would consider to be engaging social media questions. You know, and then I put them over top of picture of a motorcycle and put a border around it and did some other odds and ends as a means of creating what I think of as a highly engaging social media post. So I come up with a bunch of these. I've been trying to slowly roll them out on social media. I don't want to beat you over the head and post one like every day for the next 30 days or something like that. Trying to ease into it, post one a week, maybe two a week, and try to boost interaction and kind of feedback on my various social media platforms. So you're probably wondering, well, what does this have to do with anything? And that is a really good question, because in all that talking, I kind of lost the point. So bear with me for just one moment.
A few moments later.
All right, I got it. I remember now. So I created a handful of these highly engaging social media posts, and I started publishing them last week. The very first one I published was a picture of one of my bikes with the caption, "How did you get involved in motorcycles?" It's something along those lines. I don't remember exactly how it was. But the idea behind it was to get people to tell a story in the comment section. Now, that worked beautifully. People were posting really interesting stories in the comments. It was fan-freaking-tastic. I couldn't have been happier with the result. Since then, I've posted two more that have been complete duds, but that's kind of not the point. So anyway, the first one where I asked people to tell their story about how they get into motorcycles, Purple on 3 in the comments said, "Hey Walt, what's yours? I noticed you haven't chimed in yet." And I shared my story, and I thought I would share the exact same story here in a motovlog in kind of a more elaborate form. It was pretty condensed when I told it on Instagram. I'm not a typer. Actually, I am, but I didn't want to do a long drawn-out story. So anyway, way back when I was in my 20s, and I feel like an old man when I start saying way back in my day, but back when I was in my 20s, I was dating this girl, and her father rode motorcycles. He was a pretty avid rider, and his wife, this girl's, the story is getting all over the place already. Let me start over. Back in my 20s, I was dating a girl who is now my wife. I was going to reveal that later on, but let's just get it out of the way because it's already tripping me up. So back when my wife was my girlfriend, we were dating, and I learned that her father was a pretty avid motorcycle rider. He did quite a bit of riding, and little did I know that in addition to him being a rider, his wife, my now mother-in-law, was an avid passenger. She didn't really have much interest in riding motorcycles, but she went with him pretty much anywhere he went on the bike. And they had taken a couple of long trips, and he's had a Goldwing for as long as I've known him. It's been a long time now. So, you know, back when I met them, or when I started dating my now wife, I think it may have been Goldwing number 2 or number 3 for him. He would just upgrade them after a few years. But they made a trip out to the Goldwing factory, the Goldwing plant. I want to say it's in Ohio. And the two of them went, you know, made this long weekend pilgrimage out there. At the time, my wife and I weren't dating for all that long, and my wife drove her car behind them just so that she could, I think like her and her sister hopped in the car and followed behind the motorcycle in a car so that they could kind of participate in this little family vacation. And it was a, you know, pretty cool little thing that happened. So as time went on, my father-in-law began telling my mother-in-law that, you know, I would really like it if you got your motorcycle license. Even if you have no interest in riding, you know, I would feel better if you got your license just in case something were to happen on the road. You know, you'd be licensed and you'd be capable of, you know, doing whatever you needed to do with the bike. Now, right around this time, they had a friend of theirs had a pretty serious accident, and I think that's what spurred it. I think that's what started it all. So they were a part of a riding group. I think they would go out like every Saturday or something. They'd ride around for a while, then they would stop at a diner somewhere and get lunch, or stop somewhere and get ice cream. And the one day they were riding with this friend of theirs who was on, I think it was a Goldwing group, so obviously it would have been a Goldwing at that point. But they were riding along a backcountry road, and all of a sudden their friend runs off the road, and the bike, it winds up in like a split post fence, and he goes down, the bike goes down. Well, apparently what had happened was, I guess he had some form of stroke or something while he was riding. Something really freaky happened. He lost consciousness on the bike and wound up running off the road. So, you know, they medevaced him or whatever they needed to do, got him to the hospital. He wound up, you know, living through this. But I think that set the tone for my in-laws that, you know, if we're going to be out riding together, it would make everyone more comfortable if we were both capable of operating the motorcycle and not solely relying on one person, you know, in case of an emergency. So that's what my mother-in-law decided to do. Now, it just so happens that while this whole thing was happening, I had decided that I wanted to get my motorcycle license. My brother had been riding dirt bikes for a year or two, had gotten his motorcycle license, was riding on the street for a year or two at this point. And my dad was an avid rider when he was younger, and he was kind of getting back into it as my brother was getting into it. So it seemed like this really cool family thing to do. And I was genuinely interested anyway. So I signed up for the MSF course at I signed up for the MSF course at Blackman Cycle Center, which is the cycle center is still there, but they no longer host MSF courses. But I signed up for the beginner's riding course. My mother-in-law found out that I was taking it, decided that she wanted to take it too, so we wound up taking the class together, which was a little it was a little weird when you're younger and you're taking a class with your girlfriend's mom, and the two of you are learning to ride motorcycles together. But it was a good time. She passed the class, I passed the class. We both did pretty well during the road course. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have passed the class. But it was a lot of fun to do that together. And then for, I want to say, maybe the next year, 2 years, I spent quite a bit of time riding with my in-laws. Like, you know, we never went anywhere far, but like, you know, they'd reach out and say, hey, you know, I want to go, we're going to go out to this hot dog joint. You want to go out and grab a hot dog and have an ice cream cone? And it was like, well, sure, let's do that. You know, we'd ride out together. My mother-in-law was borrowing my father-in-law's brother's Harley 883 Sportster, and was kind of riding that. So, you know, it was the three of us. After a little while, my mother-in-law realized that she just it wasn't her thing. She enjoyed being a passenger far more. She wound up dropping the bike once, and I think that kind of set the tone. And, you know, it wasn't anything major. She'd come to a stop sign, and I guess the weight of the bike caught her off guard, and it wound up tipping over. And yeah, that was and then she decided, like, you know, motorcycles just weren't for her, and she continues to be a passenger even to this day. So my father-in-law still has that Goldwing, or actually no, when I met him, I believe he had a black Goldwing. I don't remember the year. And then shortly after that, I don't remember whether it was around the same time we took the class or not, he bought a 30th anniversary Goldwing, like a 2005 silver one. He still has it today and still rides it on occasion. He has transitioned, though. He's rides the Goldwing a lot less, and the new Harleys a lot more. And Harleys plural. It's kind of funny. He was all about, you know, Harley Goldwings for a long time, and then, you know, just decided one day, like, you know, I kind of like those loud black bikes with all the chrome, and he went out and bought himself a Street Glide, brand new Street Glide. Loved it, liked it so much that he went out and bought a red, I don't remember what all the Harley models, but it's a Harley Bagger. It's red, it's a few years old, and him and his wife, my mother-in-law, go out on that on occasion. But I think she still greatly prefers the Goldwing over the Harleys. But that's my story. That's how I got started with motorcycles. You know, and then, you know, I rode for a couple of years, and then when my wife and I got married, started having kids, I had that first time parent panic, and thought, you know, like, my motorcycle hobby is too dangerous. I've got a little kid on the way, gotta put it on the back burner. So I wound up riding less and less and less, and eventually just never got back on the bike. And probably a decade or so went by before I got bitten by the bug again, and decided to buy my Honda CB650F that I had a couple of years ago. So it's been about 3 years, maybe 4 years, actually probably closer to 4 at this point, that I've been back into riding, and I am enjoying every bit of it. It is an absolute blast. It is an incredible stress relief. You know, to just get out here, clear your mind, loads and loads of fun. And, you know, looking back, I was looking through those Instagram posts, those comments, and there are guys there that have been riding for 40 years, and it's so incredible. And you know, of course, I felt a little bummed out, you know, reading that, thinking, well, you know, if I'd have stuck with it, you know, I could be coming up on my 20-year mark of riding. But no, decided to take a break. It was probably for the best. So folks, that is going to do it for this big long video. I hope you enjoyed this motovlog through Southeast Pennsylvania, in Bucks County in particular. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I always appreciate that. And as always, ride safe, and I will catch you in the next one.